Now, we don't use alfalfa pellets in every single garden plot. We could, but let me tell you the cases where they kind of fit into my gardening program. So, what's up, Lazy Dog fam? Hope everybody out there is having a wonderful day. It is October 15th here in South Georgia, which means we're only about 15 or 20 days away from needing to plant our garlic. We're going to plant a bunch of garlic this year on this plot right behind me that has a tarp on it, but we got a little prep work to do before we're actually ready to plant the garlic. So in today's video, we're going to be pulling back this tarp, seeing what the plot looks like. We're going to be adding something that I tried last year that worked really well, and then I'll show you the garlic that we're going to be planting in a few weeks. So this particular 30 by 35 plot in this area here we call the Dream Garden had watermelons this past spring and well into the summer. Once the watermelons were done, we mowed it down good and put this tarp on here. So the tarp has been here for about 2 months. So the tarp does a great job of keeping this plot nice and clean and weed free until we're ready to use it. But when you're using a tarp for an extended period of time, a couple months like we have here, the one thing you got to be careful with is letting your soil get too dry and too baked underneath that tarp. So what we did about a month ago, we pulled back that tarp and we ran some AgriThrive through our overhead sprinkler, wet it down good, gave some good nutrients to the soil there. Put the tarp back on. So it's been back on there for about a month. Today we're going to pull it off for good. So the first thing we need to do is pick up all these bricks here, and then we'll probably just pull the tarp over there in the yard somewhere, let it dry out a little bit before we fold it up. I really don't have another plot that needs a tarp at the moment, so we'll just fold it up, put it under the barn. Once the tarp is off, I'm going to get the lawnmower and come in here and clean up these edges a little bit, and then we'll see what that soil looks like. And that there, folks, is the beauty of using a tarp. So we didn't have to till those watermelons, didn't really have to do anything but mow them down, tarp this plot for a couple months, pull it back, give it a little water one time, and we could plant this right now if we wanted to. I'm going to do a little more prep work just to get it cleaned up a little, but you could plant in here right now. I'll probably take the wheel hoe and clean up these edges here in the next couple weeks. I did notice as I was raking some of that stuff out of there, pulled up a few of those watermelon vines and a few little grass mats, and there seems to be some pretty nice fungal associations in there still, which is what we want to see in this no-till plot. So in addition to cleaning up those edges over the next few weeks, the other thing we're going to do to prep this plot for garlic planting is add some nice slow release nutrients. This is something we tried last year. A lot of people watching that old video from last year have been asking how it worked out, and it worked out really well, so we're going to do it again. And this is what we're going to be adding, the old alfalfa pellets. I got 2 40-pound bags here. This stuff has went up a little bit, as has everything in the last year or so, but I think it was about $20 a bag or so, not too bad. And so we're going to put these over there. Now before we spread these alfalfa pellets right here, let's talk a little bit more about using alfalfa pellets in the garden, in what cases I like to use them, the benefits of it. I know a lot of you out there already use alfalfa pellets in your garden, but there's probably a lot of viewers that have never tried it. So let's break it down a little bit. So alfalfa pellets are not going to give you a quick fix for anything. It's something you kind of plan ahead and do, and it's going to give you some nice, slow, continuous results over the long term. So it's not like a rescue fertilizer by any means. If you got some plants looking pitiful, alfalfa pellets probably aren't going to do a whole lot for them. But it is a nice slow release, very slow release fertilizer in the soil that's going to also give your plants some good nitrogen along the way. Alfalfa pellets are also going to help you build organic matter in your soil. So if you have really sandy soils like we do that don't really hold organic matter very well, alfalfa pellets are a good source of that, kind of build up the organic material in the soil. It also works pretty good as a soil conditioner. Now I know as gardeners we use that term kind of loosely, but in my mind what that means is if you have some soil that crusts over real bad, can get really baked on the top, really hard and crusty, the alfalfa pellets kind of keep that from happening, keep everything nice and soft up there on top of your soil. Now one more benefit that I was unaware of until earlier this week when I was doing some research on this particular brand of alfalfa pellets that we'll be using is that it has some trace minerals in it, which all plants need just a little bit of, and also has this chemical called triacantanol, I think I'm pronouncing that right. Anyway, that's a growth stimulant that's going to really help out your plants. So those are the acclaimed benefits of using alfalfa pellets, and I would say all of those have been true for us in our little experience using them in our garden plots. Now we don't use alfalfa pellets in every single garden plot we could, but let me tell you the cases where they kind of fit into my gardening program. So I like using alfalfa pellets for a crop that's going to be in the ground a long time. So for instance, this garlic we're going to be planting. We're going to put it in the ground in November. We probably won't harvest it until May. So you're looking at 6 or 7 months, half the year, where this stuff is going to be in the ground. That slow release of nutrients is going to be helpful there, keep the soil from getting zapped, and have a constant supply there for those garlic plants that are in the soil. I've also found it helpful to use alfalfa pellets in the cases where I know I'm going to be farming a particular plot pretty hard. So maybe you only have one garden plot, 1 or 2 garden plots on your property, and you're going to be planting a fall-winter garden there, and then as soon as it starts warming up in spring, you're going to turn around and plant spring crops, so you're going to be just wearing out that plot. I think alfalfa pellets work really good in that case, you know, putting them down before you plant the fall garden, having some nice slow release there, so you're not just steadily depleting your soil nutrients by farming that plot so hard. So that's why we're doing it. Now, how much do we need? If you look online, you'll see some recommendations that say 25 to 50 pounds of these per 1,000 square foot. That's what we have there, 30 by 35, approximately 1,000 square foot. But I always like to go a little heavier than recommended. So last year we went with 2 40-pound bags per 1,000 square foot plot, and that worked really well. So that's what we're going to do again today. So last year the way I did this, I would spread the alfalfa pellets and I would take the wheel hoe and lightly incorporate them into the soil, then add some water so those pellets start to break down. This year I think I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to spread the pellets, but I'm going to water them first, start letting them break down, and then we'll come in here in a few days once they start getting all crumbly, take the wheel hoe and just lightly mix them into the first couple inches of soil there. This is a no-till plot, so we're not going to till them into the soil. We'll just use the wheel hoe with the cultivator teeth, just kind of lightly incorporate everything. And before we spread these, one more thing I found to be helpful here. If you pour your alfalfa pellets into a dog's bucket and use that to spread them out there, they seem to feed the soil a lot better. If you use something like an Alabama or a Tennessee bucket, they really don't have that great of effect on the plants. But if you use a dog's bucket, they work a lot better. All right. We got that 80 pounds of alfalfa pellets spread there as evenly as we could spread it by hand. And I should mention, kind of going back to the cases in which I like to use the alfalfa pellets, if I had grazed this plot with my chickens, I probably wouldn't have added them. So like our onion plot over there that we're going to be planting in November as well, it's been grazed by the chickens a couple times. Plenty of nitrogen there, so I'm not going to add any pellets there. But in this case, we haven't grazed this plot, so the alfalfa pellets are going to help provide some continuous nitrogen throughout that long growth cycle. Now, we had a good rain earlier this week, but I don't see any more rain in the forecast over the next week and a half. If we don't put some water on these, they'll just sit here just like this. Not a problem, but if we want them to start releasing and breaking down, we need to put some water on them. So we're going to use the tripod sprinkler to put some water on this plot, help start the breakdown of those alfalfa pellets. But I think I'm going to add a little more than water. I've got the injector hooked up. It stays hooked up over here beside the house. I might as well put some AgriThrive in there as well. Feed that soil biology so we just have this plot booming when we get ready to plant elephant garlic. So I've got my injector hooked up here, and I just leave it hooked up all the time. I found that even if I'm not using it for a while, leaving it hooked up, let water continuously run through it, keeps it from kind of getting gunked up. So that's kind of what I do. I'm gonna pour a little bit of this water out of here, maybe a little bit more, and then top it off with some of this AgriThrive general purpose here. If we can do this without making a big mess. This jug's pretty full. There we go. I got a little too full there. That'll be all right. Put our top back on here. There we go. Turn the water on. And you can see there, we're injecting. Not only can we tell it's working from that clear tube on the injector, we can see the color of that water coming out of the tripod sprinkler there, and we can also smell it. So we'll let that sprinkler run for probably a couple hours there, start to get those pellets good and dissolved. And once they start breaking down really well, I'll come in here in the next couple of days, take the wheel hoe and incorporate them a little bit. And then as far as what types or varieties of garlic we're going to be planting, we've got 3 here. So we'll start out with our elephant garlic, and just another little small tip for you. If you store your elephant garlic in a dog's bucket, it just stores a lot better and will take off a lot better when you plant it. So you can see there, we got some pretty nice sized cloves in there to plant. This is our harvest from last year, and we counted these, not an exact count, but there's about 300 cloves in there, so a good bit of elephant garlic to plant. And then we've got 2 soft neck garlic varieties. These are both artichoke types, which make a little bigger clove than the silver skin types. We've got Kettle River Giant here. It's kind of hard to see because it's in that bag. And then a variety called Island Star. So this is from last year's harvest. I've got these in bags in the fridge. Just pulled them out of the fridge to show you. They'll go right back in the fridge in a minute. So after we harvested this soft neck garlic earlier this year in May, then we stored it underneath the barn, and then towards the end of August, early September, I put it in the fridge to give it a 2-month chill period, at least a 2-month chill period before we plant it in November. Now, if you don't live way down here in the south, you don't have to do that whole fridge chill period thing. But down here, we have to kind of fake out the garlic a little bit with a cold spell, and that seems to work as far as getting the soft neck garlic to actually produce cloves as opposed to just one big solid bulb. So we're going to plant all the elephant garlic we have left over from earlier this year, that which we haven't eaten so far, and then we're going to plant pretty much all the Island Star and Kettle River Giant garlic from earlier this year that we still have left over. But I still have a good bit left under the barn here that's in really good shape and needs to be planted. These 2 silver skin types. So this is soft neck garlic, but it's a silver skin type, which means the cloves are smaller. That also means you have a lot more cloves per bulb. So I have 2 varieties, the Nootka Rose and the Mexican Red Silver. Both of those did really well for us last year. I'm just not going to plant as many varieties this year, and I'm going to stick with the larger clove varieties. But you can see there what they look like. They're in really good shape, and they take off and grow really good for you. So I'll put these 2 varieties, these 2 silver skin varieties, on our website. If you want to try these out, you can go to our website, lazydogfarm.com. I'll have them posted there while supplies last. When they're gone, they're gone. So if you want to try soft neck garlic, or you want to try another variety of soft neck garlic, both of these are easy to grow. Now, these haven't been chilled. They've just been sitting underneath the barn here where it's nice and shaded and cool. If you live in the south like us, you probably do want to put them in the fridge for a few weeks at least. If If you live up north, should be no worries. Go ahead and stick them in the ground. So I hope you enjoyed the video today. Good to get some plot preparation progress. It's kind of hard to say. Good to get that done so we can have our plot ready when it gets time around here to put garlic in the ground. And if you've ever used alfalfa pellets in your garden, let me know in the comments below how you use them, in what situations you use them, how much do you use, say per 1,000 square foot. Tell me all about how you found them to be helpful for your garden. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to check out our affiliate links below. A lot of great companies that we use in our gardens here at Lazy Dog Farm, like the AgriThrive fertilizer I showed you earlier. We've got some coupon codes for some of those companies so you can take advantage of those discounts. Don't forget to go check out our website, lazydogfarm.com, where you can find that garlic, our garden blog, recipes, hats, shirts, all kind of good stuff over there. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe, hit that notification button, like, and share, and we'll see you next time right here at Lazy Dog Farm.
Oh, farewell, by the beauty of your life.